This science fiction story begins with numerous soldiers falling from the sky, having no idea how they got there. They land directly into the water, and as they emerge, they find themselves armed and surrounded by chaos. To understand how these soldiers ended up here, we need to go back 20 years to 2030. In 2030, Daniel, a biologist, lived with his family. Despite his best efforts to join the military, he was repeatedly rejected due to his qualifications. Consequently, he worked a regular job teaching at a college. Recently, Daniel had secured an interview for a military base camp position. However, just as he was heading to the interview, he received a message stating that he had been rejected. This news made Daniel extremely angry and upset. One evening, Daniel was watching a soccer match with his wife and daughter when a portal suddenly opened in the stadium. From this portal emerged numerous upgraded soldiers. Their leader, Lieutenant Hart, addressed humanity, explaining that in the future, around 2050, dangerous aliens called spikes would invade Earth and devour humans, leading to the complete annihilation of human civilization. These soldiers had come from the future to seek help. Lieutenant Hart, speaking directly to the camera, urged humanity to assist them by sending soldiers to their time to fight against these deadly aliens. The leaders of every country took this plea seriously, and a massive recruitment of soldiers began. These soldiers would form groups and, with the help of a wormhole, be sent to the future to combat the spikes. Each group of soldiers would be sent for only 7 days before being replaced by another group. The realization dawned on everyone that the future was bleak and that the battle against the spikes would be a dire one. So, Daniel started working on changing his future right away. Now, here's the surprising part. Daniel, who hadn't been getting any job offers, was suddenly called by the military to join their base camp. Daniel went there, and the military officers asked him if he wanted to join their war effort. If he agreed, he would be sent to the future with a team. Daniel, who had always wanted to work for the army, accepted without asking his wife. The military officers' team took Daniel to a room and implanted a chip in his body. This chip was implanted in all the soldiers so they could be tracked. When they sent them to the future using a wormhole, they would track them using the chip and bring them back. Essentially, this chip was how they could teleport them to the future, thanks to the small piece of technology that Lieutenant Hart had given to humans. After all the procedures were done, Daniel went home and told his wife everything. She was shocked and started getting angry because this war could be extremely dangerous, and Daniel had made all these decisions without consulting her. She told Daniel to remove the chip and throw it away. However, Daniel explained that he couldn't remove the chip. Even if he refused the mission, the army could still send him to the future using the chip, so he had no choice. Daniel's wife suggested that he meet his father, as he might have a solution. Daniel got a bit angry at this suggestion because he never talked to his father. The reason was that, at a very young age, his father had left his mom and family and gone far away. Since then, Daniel had hated his father. But after much persuasion from his wife, Daniel reluctantly went to meet his father. When he shared his problem with his father said he could easily remove the chip from Daniel's body. However, a heated argument ensued between the father and son. Daniel got so angry that he left without removing the chip. Daniel returned to his wife and said, "I have to join this war no matter what." His wife hugged him and said, "Please come back alive." Before leaving, Daniel also met his beloved daughter. He then joined the rest of the soldiers at the base camp, where many others had come to serve their duty. They were briefed on the mission to ensure there were no doubts. However, a lady raised a question: if we have to kill those aliens, why don't we go to the time when the aliens were about to arrive on Earth? If we eliminate the initial aliens, the future problems won't arise. But a soldier from the future explained, "Our time machine can't go that far. We can only travel between 2030 and 2050 or back from 2050 to 2030. That's why we have no choice but to fight the aliens in the future and eliminate them." Everyone understood the situation and began preparing. Suddenly, due to an emergency, Lieutenant Hart arrived and informed everyone that several dangerous aliens had attacked one of their base camps. Therefore, all soldiers needed to be sent to the future as soon as possible to save their comrades at the base camp. The entire team of soldiers was teleported to the future. However, during the teleportation, there was an error in their machine, causing the soldiers to fall from the sky. Daniel and many other soldiers landed in the water, which was the scene shown at the beginning of the story. The scene continued, and Daniel was made the leader of the entire team. Daniel's team was given the task of rescuing the people at the base camp and retrieving an important hard drive from there. Slowly, Daniel and his fellow soldiers made their way to the base camp, only to find that all the soldiers there had been killed by the aliens. The sight was not only terrifying but also horrifying. However, Daniel didn't give up easily. He managed to reach the laboratory and retrieve the hard drive. But suddenly, the dangerous aliens known as spikes attacked them. Although Daniel and his soldiers fought bravely, a decision was made to blow up the entire base camp due to the overwhelming number of aliens. Bombs were quickly planted around the base camp, and it was blasted. While many aliens were killed in the explosion, several soldiers also lost their lives. Things got so bad that all the soldiers were utterly exhausted. Daniel was also rendered unconscious by the blast. When Daniel opened his eyes a little later, he found himself in another military base camp where all the injured soldiers had been brought for treatment. As Daniel looked around, he realized that only one of his companions, who had been with him at the site, had survived. When the two of them went outside together, they discovered that they were in an advanced military base camp in the future. Another member of Daniel's team had also survived, meaning only 3 of them had made it out alive. Daniel learned that the black soldier had survived 3 times in this war. Daniel asked him why he kept risking his life like this. The black soldier replied, "I have cancer, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a hospital. I'd rather die a hero on the battlefield." At this point, Daniel met the colonel of their team, and he was reminded of someone. It suddenly dawned on him that she was his daughter, who would grow up to become a colonel in the military forces. Daniel felt incredibly proud and wanted to hug his daughter, but she refused because they couldn't display such emotions in front of everyone. They needed to focus on their mission. The colonel briefed Daniel and his team, explaining that they needed to find the female white spike. This was the alien that was birthing the smaller aliens. If they could capture her, they might discover how to destroy these aliens for good. "And if we capture her, we can find out the weakness of these aliens," said the colonel. Daniel's daughter began planning the mission and soon had many soldiers loaded into helicopters, heading towards the mission site. They quickly reached a large field where the female white spike was located. Several soldiers brought a massive cage in which they trapped the female white spike and began to transport her. The colonel told her father, Daniel, to stay put while she went down with the soldiers to retrieve the alien. The soldiers descended to transport the female white spike, but the other spikes soon realized what was happening. The aliens came together to rescue their queen. The aliens' bodies were so acidic that human skin would burn on contact. In this attack, many soldiers lost their lives. Seeing his daughter and many soldiers in danger, Daniel disregarded orders and joined the fight. He attacked the aliens that were killing his soldiers. Despite being trapped, the female spike alien fell to the ground. The soldiers continued their efforts to transport her using the helicopter. Meanwhile, Daniel and his older daughter, the colonel, continued firing at the aliens while advancing in a jeep. Many aliens pursued them, but due to the jeep's high speed, they managed to escape and reach a beach. After getting out of the jeep, Daniel's daughter scolded him for not following her order to stay back, as it had put both their lives in danger. Daniel realized that his daughter harbored resentment towards him. When he asked her why, she explained that just as he had hated his father, she disliked him because when Daniel traveled to the future in 2030 using the wormhole, she and her mother were left alone, and she never experienced a father's love. That was the reason why Daniel's daughter started hating him. Although Daniel wanted to convince his daughter, this was not the time to discuss such matters. They had the responsibility of saving humanity from those dangerous aliens. Therefore, all the soldiers gathered at the military base built right in the middle of the ocean. Here, a shocking fact was revealed that the soldiers had captured the female alien spike and were continuously experimenting on it, dissecting its body parts. The colonel quickly collected blood samples from the female spike alien. The entire military team started working on creating a toxin using those blood samples, which could kill all the creatures in one go. After several hours of hard work, they succeeded in creating the toxin, but the quantity was very limited. They didn't have enough resources left to increase the quantity. Therefore, the colonel told her father that he needed to go back to 2030, where there were ample resources, and from there, he could increase the quantity of the toxin and completely destroy the first female spike alien that had come to Earth. But shortly after, the female spike alien started screaming loudly, alerting many other aliens who began heading towards the secret military base. Destruction was rampant all around. The colonel was severely injured in the chaos. Daniel said that he couldn't leave them in such a state, but his daughter assured him that she trusted him. She asked him to go back to 2030, increase the quantity of the toxin using the resources, and save them. As they were talking, a creature appeared and started dragging Daniel's daughter away. Daniel wanted to save her, but it was too late. Suddenly, the wormhole opened, and Daniel teleported back to 2030. Luther Hart and the soldiers waiting for him in 2030 gave him medical treatment as his condition was quite severe. When Daniel regained some consciousness, he explained everything to Luther Hart, mentioning that they needed to strengthen the toxin to kill those aliens and create it in large quantities using their resources. Daniel stressed the urgency, stating he needed to return to the future to save his daughter. However, Luther informed him that he couldn't go back because the time machine was completely damaged. Upon hearing this, Daniel was very disappointed. After recovering, he headed back home. When Daniel met his daughter, he hugged her tightly, knowing that in the future, she would become a prominent colonel but also aware that she would sacrifice her life in the war. Daniel also met his wife and explained everything about the future. He was extremely happy to reunite with his family after such a long time, but he was still worried about how things would unfold in the future. Daniel then went to one of the members of his soldier group, who had a tooth of the same alien around his neck. When Daniel and his friends started researching this tooth, they discovered that the dangerous spike aliens were made of lava and survived in conditions where the lava had completely turned to ash and was buried in ice. However, they couldn't understand the connection between these things and the aliens. When Daniel brought up this topic in his class, a student presented his theory. The student simply explained that many years ago, there was a mountain blast that released tons of lava, spreading all around. Due to snowfall, the area got completely covered in ice, causing the creatures born in the lava to stop moving and enter a state of hibernation. With the continuous increase in global warming, the top layer of ice started melting, which would eventually free the creatures developing inside. Daniel thought that perhaps the female spike alien could be among those trapped in the ice and would eventually break free, increasing its population significantly by 2050. His friends also found this theory plausible and decided to support him fully. Daniel and all his soldiers directly approached the Defense Force officer with their view. When they explained everything to him, the officer thought they were joking and outright refused to help. However, Daniel had decided that he would complete this mission at any cost. He believed that if he could eliminate the initial aliens, the future would be different, and perhaps his daughter would survive. So, despite his reluctance, Daniel went to his father and told him everything, explaining how his granddaughter's life was in danger in the future and that they had to take these drastic steps to save humanity. Daniel's father had several helicopters and equipment that could help them reach the icy area. After understanding everything, Daniel's father agreed to help. Daniel, his entire team of soldiers, and his father set out on their mission. Using the helicopter, they soon reached the icy area. After extensive detection, they found a place with strong metal signals. They used a bomb to blast the ice at that spot, creating a path inside. They quickly followed this path deep inside. To their shock, they discovered that it wasn't just any alien but an alien spaceship that had frozen completely upon arrival. The best part was that using his equipment, Luther Breck had successfully created a large quantity of the toxin that Daniel had provided, meaning they now had a way to kill the aliens. Inside the spaceship, they found many hybrid aliens that had died due to freezing, but they had brought along small eggs containing white spike aliens. With global warming, these aliens would eventually be freed as the ice melted and would threaten humanity by 2050. Daniel and his team decided to use the toxin to kill the aliens while they were still in the eggs. One by one, they began injecting the toxin, causing the aliens to die. But suddenly, after hearing so much noise, the female alien Spike came back to life. She emerged fully and started killing all the soldiers. Although many soldiers tried to fight her, her size was much larger than the other aliens. The black man said, "You all should leave this place, and I will destroy this entire alien spaceship with a bomb." The black man didn't have much time left because he had cancer and wanted to sacrifice his life to save the others. After that, Daniel, his father, and many soldiers evacuated, but the female alien Spike followed them. As she began killing the soldiers she could find in the icy area, she managed to kill more than half of them. Now, the female alien Spike was chasing Daniel. Although Daniel was shooting at her with a gun, none of the bullets seemed to affect her body. Meanwhile, the black man detonated the bomb, destroying the entire alien ship, which meant that all the alien eggs were now destroyed. Only one alien remained, the female alien Spike. Despite Daniel's relentless attacks, he couldn't stop the alien. Although she was severely injured, she was still rapidly advancing towards Daniel. As she was about to pounce on Daniel, his father suddenly appeared from the side. Daniel's father immediately attacked the alien's eyes, blinding her. Quickly, Daniel injected a large dose of the toxin into her body. Due to the overwhelming spread of the toxin throughout her body, the female alien Spike fell and died on the spot. Daniel then realized how big a mistake he had made by ignoring his father. His father had always loved him but never showed it openly. Now, lying there with his father and the remaining soldiers, Daniel knew they had secured the future. They had eliminated the aliens in the present time, ensuring that by 2050, the aliens would neither develop nor attack humanity. After completing their mission entirely, Daniel returned home with his father. Daniel was overjoyed to see his daughter and wife again. He even invited his father to live with them so that they could all stay together. With everything back in order, Daniel dedicated ample time to his wife and family, fully aware of how much had changed and determined not to repeat the mistakes that had distanced his daughter from him in the past. By changing a significant event in the present, the future was entirely secured. This meant that Daniel's daughter would grow up to become a colonel, and she would not perish in that event. Daniel was extremely happy with his family, knowing they were safe and together. And so, our adventurous story comes to an end here.